Anybody not been to Community First before? Is this your first time? My name is Daryl Ball. I'm what they call a missional here at the village. On this property we have 240 homes. We also have a 7-acre organic farm. You'll see some hydroponics and some different things around. And we have micro enterprises here on site. Everybody that lives here pays rent. The rent is cheaper than any place that you would find in Austin. However, it's part of that dignity of being able to provide for themselves. And so what we do is we try to create a road that they have a plan and they have a way to do that. For every year that they've lived on the street, it's about a 2-month transitional period here. And I try to explain that to people. If you've ever gone to a foreign country, or if you're a foreigner and you were here and you didn't understand English, or you don't understand the language over there, you don't understand the humor. Most people don't understand my humor even still. Thank you very much. I'll be here all week. But you don't understand the humor, you don't understand the culture, you're in a lost world, right? And that happens when somebody's come off the street for 30 years and then they come into community. It's not always the easiest transition. Where we are in right now is our cinema, and our cinema was helped to be built by the Alamo Draft House, and we show first run movies on Friday nights for free. And then as part of that program, we also have food service, and some of our residents work the food truck, and they get the proceeds off the food truck. And so we have a lot of micro enterprises, which we're going to talk about. We've paid out over $1 million in dignified salaries in the last 2 years to our residents that live here, because there's many different private enterprises on site. Behind you is another micro enterprise, which is our Airbnb. So if you want to know what it's like to stay for a weekend or a week or however long in a tiny house or an RV, you can go on Airbnb and you can actually order one up for the weekend. Across the way, we're building another 24 acres. We're going to be adding over doubling the size of our organic farm that we have here. We have an organic farm. We have animal husbandry, which I thought was a dirty thing, but evidently it's not. We have goats that make goat's milk, and they're in the process of getting certified so that they can make cheeses and things like that. But now they make soaps and things like chapstick and things out of the goat's milk. We have chickens that produce probably about 50 dozen free-range organic eggs a week. We're increasing production to about 100 a week. We beat the chickens, and no, we don't beat the chickens. But we are increasing production to about 100 dozen a week. So on the next phase, we're going to have a medical center. We're going to have a respite center. We also have a community works center that's going up there. That's going to be over 5,000 square feet. The medical center is over 20,000 square feet. We're going to have a 7,500 square foot respite center, so when people are recovering from things like surgeries and stuff, they can stay there, and instead of having to go all the way across the city somewhere, their neighbors are right here, so they can go visit them. So we have many services on site, which I'll show you as we walk through. Number one cause of homelessness, does anybody know? Prison? Nope.
Loss of family.
What's that?
Loss of family. Loss
of family. There you go. The number one cause of homelessness is the total destruction of family, total implosion of family. The people that we serve here are what we call chronically homeless. The average lifespan of somebody on the street here is 20 years. Okay, can you imagine living under a bridge for 20 years? And that's average. So we have some people that are more, and we have some people that are less. But that's average. Our makeup is about 70% single men and 30% women. And out of that 100%, 20% are veterans. The way that they get chosen to come here, there's an assessment. There's an assessment that's given. Let me know if I'm going too fast too. There's an assessment that's given, and basically they go down and say, okay, do you qualify for this? No, 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 No. And when they get to the very bottom of the list, that's the person that we get that doesn't have anything available. And so that's what we call chronically homeless. They will probably die on the street. And so really we are their last resort here. And so we don't serve all, we get questions like that, well, do you do this, do this? It's like, no, there's other people that do. We're focusing on the ones that don't have anything at all. Keep in mind, this is designed to be a permanent place for them to live, so they can live and die here. That's what it's designed for. So everybody pays their own rent, and those are at various rates for various housing. So we have 2 rules here. You got to follow the laws of the land, and you have to pay your rent. So there's no dignity, right, really in charity. So that's part of the dignity, is everybody provides their own way. So in the process, we try to figure out ways that they can do that, and so we have micro enterprises, and there's a lot of different financial things going on, which I'll go into more detail. So what we've tried to do here at Community First Village is create avenues of enterprise where they can actually make a dignified wage. That's all anybody wants to do, and all anybody wants to do is be able to control their own destiny and not have somebody else control it. That's what we've been built on here in the U.S., right? That the American dream, the land of opportunity. So that's all we're asking for. And so what's happened is we've created a series of micro enterprises so that they can earn those salaries, and they can go ahead and they can pay their rent. So we have people doing landscaping, for example, that they might make $17, $18 an hour landscaping. There's the movie theater, there's food service, and we're going to see a few more things. When we set up this property bus service that's available, you'll see the little bus station out there, and the bus is coming. So we do have, some people work off-site. They get jobs off-site, and they work downtown, and they come in and out. So, but for the convenience of having something here, this was a community market. The other thing that it serves as is our outlet store for our artisans. We have discovered some amazingly talented people that have lived on the street. And so what we do is we help try to support those talents. And what they do is we have a forge on site that makes some wonderful metal things. You want a bottle opener that'll last you until your great grandkids. All the woodworking things that we have and the different things that they make. They work in clay, there's jewelry, and there's all kinds of things. Now, can imagine you've been treated and kicked around worthlessly on the street, and you make something with your own hands, and somebody comes in and they buy it. Can you imagine the dignity in that, what that means to somebody? So this is that connection to the rest of the world that we have, and the connection to dignity in our residents making things. So we've had some residents do very, very well financially with providing their artwork and able to pay their rent and live, and then teach others how to do artwork and be mentors for others. And so this is a great recovery that in doing the artwork here. And we have a silk screening shop, we have a woodworking shop, we have an auto care center, which I'm going to show you in a moment. So this is our Community First Car Care. So let me tell you a little bit how this happened. People are saying, how do you accomplish these things? Well, Maud Toyota, which is a local dealership here in the area, yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, you'd think at my age I'd be smarter than that, wouldn't you? So Maud Toyota, what they did is they partnered with us, and they have, in their car care facility, they have 12 people that do oil changes and all this kind of stuff, and they work in teams of 2, right? So my basic arithmetic, that's 6 teams of 2. Well, what they did is they sent one person from every team home and paid them to stay home, and then they paid 6 of our people to come and work alongside their people, and they trained them in car care. And so then we got this facility with a lift and everything, so when people come volunteer, they can get oil changes, sticker inspections, they can get car detailing and all that kind of stuff. And again, this creates another micro enterprise on our property that allows us to pay out the salaries that we do.
Where's your major funding come from?
Good question. Where's our major funding come from? It comes from you guys. It comes from individuals. It comes from private entities. We don't get any government funding whatsoever. Everything comes from private. And so we've had some really awesome partners come partner up and help with a lot of this. And I will tell you this, you know, money a lot of times, because we get people from other places, maybe some of you are here wanting to see what this would be like to set up someplace else. Money usually isn't as big the issue, because our thing isn't about money. It's not about housing. It's not about building houses. Housing will not solve homelessness. It's the heart-to-heart and the hand-to-hand. It's all about the relationship. And if you don't have relationship and all you have is money, I don't know how many people you've seen schools in bad parts of the city where they buy brand new Olympic pools and they do all this stuff, and then it's all trashed and torn apart. And it's because there's no relationship. Money doesn't solve the problem, but there's money available. There's people that want to spend money to fix things, but they don't know the best place to put it. And the best place is where you have hand-to-hand, heart-to-heart connection and community, because that's the only way that any of this can come about, is through those relationships.
And what about children or family settings? Is that a common?
This place wasn't built for families, because remember, what did I say is the number one? Is the destruction of family, right? The catastrophic loss of family is the number one cause of homelessness. So in that catastrophic loss, we don't always have families. However, remember, we came through this with a spirit of saying yes. So in the years that we've been doing this, since 1998, we've discovered a lot of things we didn't know going in. And so as people come into community and get healed, they do become reunited with families. We have, we've had some amazing stories, because there's been so much publicity here, that we've had some long-lost daughter from another state see their dad on YouTube, and then all of a sudden, bam, we're reconnected. In fact, one of my neighbors, Larry, his daughter found him on YouTube and called him one day. And you want a cry story? There's one right there, because it was pretty amazing. And the thing was that fascinated him. She's like, "Dad, after all these years, don't lose my number. Dad, I don't want to lose touch with you again." There was desperation from that child to know that her dad was okay and safe. And so, so we get a lot of reconnecting with families. As we've gotten people into community and they have gotten healthier and stabilized, we've actually had weddings. So we've had some people, the way the property is designed, we have one side that has tiny houses that are made for one person to live in them because of the size and the facilities. And then we have RVs that will take a couple. And so a lot of, we've had some residents move from the single side to the other side. And let me give you a little history of how this community came about. In 1998, 4 men went on a retreat, religious retreat, and when they came back from the retreat, they felt strongly compelled to feed the homeless. And so what they did, they started out making 80 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and they would go out and they'd share these meals. And I say share is different than give away, right? So they would go out and they would share these meals on the ground with our homeless friends and neighbors, and get to know them and develop relationships. That was so successful that within the first year, at the end of the year, they decided to purchase a hot food truck. So it was an old Ford that they bought, and they rehabbed it into a food truck so that they could start serving hot meals and some other sundry items that were useful for people living on the street, like socks and things like that. So at that time, that's now increased to current days of about 15 food trucks on the street that run 24/7, 7 days a week, 365 days out of the year. In fact, one of those food trucks actually comes right out of here, and it's served by our residents that are here. So kind of another story, but that you'll hear shortly. In 2005, there came the idea of what if we start lifting our neighbors off the street and getting them into housing. That was when we were thinking about housing. And what we've come to learn in the process of housing is that housing isn't the cure to homelessness, but that community is. That's why we call this place community first and not housing first. But in our start, we started in 2005, and we started buying old RVs, rehabbing them, and placing people around the city, and getting them into housing. Of course, we discovered that that wasn't really developing community at all, because everybody was all over the place. So later came this amazing idea of what if we have a community that they can live in together, and become families and friends. And of course, everybody thought, wow, what an awesome idea. We could get all these people from the arch and everything and just move them off somewhere to some piece of land, and wouldn't that be great? And so anyway, so we started looking for land, and in the process of looking for land, every time we would find something, there'd be a bunch of protesters going, oh no, not in my backyard, right, NIMBY? So you're not doing that here. So we would run into that, and eventually we found this property, and we also had resistance. We pulled over 1,000 rubber tires off this property. It certainly was not any diamond that anybody was worried about, and it's kind of funny because you know the arguments. Oh, our property values are going to go down or whatever, and it's like it was just a piece of junk. So anyway, but the opposite has happened actually in the process. So anyway, when we came on site here, we had the same resistance of not wanting, a bunch of, people are like, what is this going to be like? A whole bunch of homeless, mentally ill people, and all this stuff, and addictions, and mental health, and everything. What's this all going to look like when we all get together in a big group like this? And I always tell everybody it's a lot like your house at Thanksgiving. It's it's pretty nice, but it can get a little messy.
Ahoy! Hey, pups! Oh my goodness! Wow! Are you saying hi? Oh! Okay. Hey, puppy!
Oh, you're making hay?
Oh my goodness! Your breath smells like my dog's breath.
Oh, Lord.
Delicious.
Oh, you're happy now? You got attention? Good peanut.
I'm John.
I'm Pops.
Pops, nice to meet
Pops
you,
and
Pops.
Peanut. Hey, how are you,
Pops
buddy?
the nut.
Good.
Pops and the
Pops,
peanut.
you getting better?
All right. All right, Pops. Thank you, sir.
See you, buddy. Yeah.
Oh, that's one of the things I forgot to tell you. So I was telling you about some of the resistance, right? Well, in our gateway of goodness, we have a lot of our neighbors that were once, the people against this, right? That come to the movies, and they bring their kids in their jammies, because it's late, it's got to be dark, and they come in their jammies and lay out their blankets, and they order food from our neighbors, and they also meet our neighbors that come to hang out at the movies, and guess what happens? They go, wow, we really like each other. We're really like the same. We sit down, we laugh at the same things on the movies, we hang out. All of a sudden, a transformation happens. And now all of a sudden we have people that are now coming alongside, and they want to be involved, and they want to know more, because we're all really the same.